Hi, this is Matt with State of Flux here with a review for All Monsters Attack or Godzilla's Revenge. I know it is Godzilla's Revenge and that's how I'm going to refer to it throughout this review. This is another one of my Godzilla retrospectives I just want to start by saying that both of those titles are stupid. All Monsters Attack has almost nothing to do with the plot. Sure, there's quite a few monsters in it, but they're not attacking, they're not doing much of anything, and most of the monster action you get in this film comes from previous Godzilla movies. This is a Godzilla clip show. Godzilla's Revenge, I don't know what Godzilla's taking revenge on, unless you're talking about Godzilla, the fandom, because this movie sure is an attack on the Godzilla fans. This movie is garbage, hot garbage, easily my least favorite of the Showa-era films, and quite possibly, or quite probably, my least favorite Godzilla property ever, including some of those stateside films. But we'll get to those later. Anyway, this film is awful. It is about a... what's frustrating is the plot is good in concept. I always maintain that Godzilla works best when he's used allegorically. And this is a film that is sort of an allegorical dissection of bullying and loneliness. You're following a young boy who feels alienated from his family unit, and he is consistently being bullied by those at school, and he goes inside his own self to imagine what life would be like if Godzilla was there to make it better. And in it he has these flights of fancy with Minya, or Manila, or however you want to say it. I always called him Minya. And he befriends a talking Minya, who we've known as the son of Godzilla or whatever. And he's the one that sort of helps this boy cope with what's going on, and then there's like this weird crime subplot and a kidnapping, and it's kind of all over the place. Most of, like I said before, the Godzilla action in this film is recycled from previous movies. You just get the... and they don't recut the scenes, so it's not like they try to do something different. They just flat out give you the scene again of Godzilla versus Ebirah, where they're having the cute little like volleyball thing going with the big boulder. You get a little bit of a reworking of some of the fights from Son of Godzilla and Destroy All Monsters. It just... if you want to watch those movies, then just go back and watch movies. Certainly both of those films are better than this one, so what's going on? And then when it does become its own movie and Godzilla has to fight another monster, those fights aren't utilized well. Like, it's not necessarily good looking. And it's maddening watching Godzilla throughout this film, because sometimes he looks like Godzilla as he's costumed in this film, and as he was costumed in, like, Ebirah Horror of the Deep, but sometimes he has the head from Son of Godzilla, and so his face is constantly changing, and ugh, the costuming. Anyway, like I was saying, when this film finally has, like, Godzilla versus the other monster, I can't even remember the name of it, it doesn't matter, it ends up recycling a storyline almost scene for scene from Son of Godzilla, where Godzilla has to teach a young Minya how to spew fire, but he's just spewing these rings, and then he can't quite get the fire down. That's elongated in this, and then given the same exact story arc that it had in Son of Godzilla is put into this. It's just elongated and made a little more comedic and light. This is the most kid-friendly Godzilla movie. And the thing is when I was a kid, yeah, I did really like this movie. But by the time I was 10 years old, I found myself not watching this anymore because I discovered the other movies. This was one of my early Godzilla movies that did introduce me to Godzilla. And even by the age of 10, I just stopped with it. This movie I am not a fan of, as you can hear. I will say, I think there is... this is a solid movie to show to a young child who does a lot of imaginative play and stuff, but once you've grown beyond the age that this film is intended for, it's truly unwatchable. And the fact that it is just a clip show, and it's only like 70 minutes on top of it, it really is like, there's not much here. And then it goes like long stretches where you get lots of Godzilla, and then like a 20-minute section where there's no Godzilla activity whatsoever, and it's like, it's those scenes that are most maddening. Because as a kid, you want to just get back to the Godzilla stuff, and as an adult, that's the stuff that kind of works a little bit okay almost, but it's just surrounded by such crap. I know that there are fans of this movie out there. I am not one of them. This is sort of the designed coda to the Godzilla franchise, which is weird. And I know that the director, Ishiro Honda, had a fondness. This, I believe, he had always maintained in interviews that Godzilla or Gojira, the very first one, was the best Godzilla movie made. But this was his favorite Godzilla movie, and that is mind-boggling to me. Because it's such the antithesis of what had happened with the franchise. Weirdly enough, this one is the most allegorical and stuff like that that you've gotten in a Godzilla movie pretty much since that first one. However, the allegory is super thin, if you even could call it an allegory anymore. The theming is just so weak. This is just designed for children, and not particularly giving children enough grace to in like the way that Pixar does, where it allows children to feel and know and emote, or say like a Ghibli film. This is just like pandering to a childlike sensibility without trusting that they're adult enough to really handle the themes that this film wants to attack. I'm done. I'm over it. I have no interest in continuing on this anymore. This was the designed coda to the Godzilla franchise, and if this had truly been the end, that would have been like just disgraceful, especially since we had a decent enough conclusion the year prior with Destroy All Monsters. But fear not, Godzilla would come back I think it was a couple years later, 2 years later, with a very divisive Godzilla movie and the start of the Godzilla versus era that would maintain much of the rest of the franchise. So Godzilla becomes the headliner next week when we discuss Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, as I grew up knowing it. Now it's called Godzilla versus Hedorah. And I'm excited to tackle that one next week. But until then, let me know what you think of this movie in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.